Call this Brown Bag meeting to order at 11:30 on this, what is it, third day of June.
Thank you, Meeting, sir.
Welcome, everyone, and let us begin with our invocation and pledges.
Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to gather today in service of our students, staff, and community. As we engage in thoughtful discussion around budget considerations, grant us wisdom and clarity. Help us to steward our resources with integrity and vision, always keeping the needs of our children at the center of our work. As the school year comes to a close, we lift up our students and educators. May this summer bring them rest and renewal and joy, and let it be a time of well-deserved peace and restoration, so they return refreshed and ready for the year ahead. May our time together be productive and grounded in unity. We ask all these things in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, indivisible.
Nobody signed up.
No, sir.
Thank you, Brandon. Budget update, let's dive into it. Scott's been waiting.
Okay. He's been waiting, sir, so I'll just want to start off this conversation first to talk about, this is our best interpretation of the new bill. We currently were working on budget for next year on current law. So we spent a lot of time on current law, like, okay, here's our revenues based on current law. We went through a lot of expenditure exercises to work on our deficit. Just like House Bill 3 back in 2019, a lot of the language that came out of that bill was given to us a lot later. So sometimes you make mistakes when you just are under assumptions. So today is assumptions. We have Mo Casey, who works with us really directly, and every week we've been in these meetings. A lot of what we're going to be telling you is what they're saying, but there also is a lot of interpretation of these bills, a lot of language that needs to come out. Some of it will be board policy, some of it will be actual to the commissioner and TEA to come up with some of the rules of this. So there's still a lot to unpack, but this is basically our best educated guess as we got the information today. And every week we will continue to work with Mo Casey and TEA to get ourselves in alignment. And so what Scott's sharing is basically what he's been working on and looking at through the eyes of Mo Casey and the different laws, and to kind of to put us where we are in current time in our budget. So Scott?
All right, let's go. First of all, I'm going to apologize for the 28 slides I have, but it's a lot of new material, so it does warrant it. So apparently I'm the only thing on the agenda today, so I got 2 hours, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's move on. Here we go. So like Brandon said, we're going to talk about the legislative updates, look at our current budget, maybe talk about potential compensation plan, not approve one today, just kind of talk, get the conversation going, and move on from there. All right. All right, legislative updates. At your desk, you have 34 pages of the side-by-side between current law and the House Bill 2, as interpreted by Mo Casey. Now, this House Bill 2 is very exciting. It's a largest increase of public funding in years. A lot of good things are going on with it. There's additional raise for teachers. A new allotment has been created. So teachers with 3+ years will get a raise that the state will be providing us funds for. There's also a support service staff raise, so that those funds are there as well. And then there's a new basic allotment for basic costs, which is similar to the basic allotment but different. And we'll talk more about that in a second. So those are good things. Those are all good things that are happening. At the same time, we still have our bills that we need to pay, so the funds that we're receiving are more flow through. And so we'll still be a little bit in the hole at the end of our budget cycle. So just want to kind of keep that in mind. So, all right. So House Bill 2 did provide approximately $55 increase to basic allotment. So we'll just leave it at that. We'll go to the next slide. All right. So the new allotments, the allotment for basic costs is a $106 times your enrollment, and it provides you with additional funds. So for us, it's about 1.6 million. That's what we're looking at for next year. And it can be used for several things for us. 1.6 is already spoken for, so we don't even need to worry about adding any additional costs because we already have plenty to go with. The next new allotment is the teacher retention allotment. This is one that made a lot of headway in the news. For our district, with 5,000 or more students, so we'll be providing increasing our compensation plan for teachers with 3 to 4 years experience, $2,500 additional, and then 5+ years will receive 5,000 additional, so.
Real quick on the basic allotment, they increased it $55, but that took away from our golden pennies. So it's really, they've moved that money out of the golden pennies in tier 2, which is, I don't wanna get too technical, but it's really, in essence, not an increase for us in that specific. So basic allotment is really not helping us. Now, the teacher retention allotment is, it's helping us pay teachers more money. The support staff allotment, yes, and then this new cost that he's talking about, this allotment for basic costs, which we can use on multiple things, is really where we're getting the additional funding that we could use for everything else, like operationally wise.
Can we use this money to get people that are not included in the retention allotment a raise?
We can, but we also need to keep in mind that you're gonna see that we'll continue to have a deficit. What they didn't do in this retention allotment is they didn't take into account, they say, hey, you're gonna give all your teachers $5,000 across the board. We gotta give them $5,000. But when we add to salaries, that there's extra costs for the district. So we have a TRS cost, we have a Medicaid cost, we have, obviously we have insurance costs, which we have. So that's not part of it. So that's gonna be additional, that's gonna come out probably out of the pot of the allotment for the basic costs to cover those additional fees that we get charged by TRS and the different allocations for payroll. So we will have to cover that, and so that will help us do that.
It's
Go
a
ahead, Scott.
little bit of help. Right.
Real quick, the teachers that just have 1 to 2 years, they get nothing,
Nothing.
and we're trying to get teachers to stay.
Their value, the value that, the state legislatures feel like that you should put your money more towards the tenured, teacher, and so even in House Bill 3, back in 2019, they did the same thing. We had to give raises to the more experienced teachers than the actual first, second year teachers. Even though more so, I know you're gonna talk about it.
Yeah. The next slide, this one?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Definition of teacher in the yellow.
Yeah, so we have to really get, the TA says that a teacher is a teacher teaching kids for more than 4 hours a day. So any employee, if they're teaching 1 day or 2 days a week, or they're doing small group pull-ins, stuff like that, we're gonna have to get clarification, because according to TA, those are the people that are not part of this allotment. If they're not teaching kids for 4 hours every day, at least 4 hours, then they're not considered in this compensation. So,
And what would that, like, who would that look like?
So we've got a slide for that.
Oh, okay.
So the hard part about this, it just came out, so we're gonna proceed as if we have zero clarification and just try to go with exactly what the words say, which, I don't know. Doesn't give us a lot of leeway, so we'll probably have more discussions, as we,
those are things that we need to get clarified.
yeah.
They also said that teachers that are not certified, and so in the past, if you were a DOI teacher, a new teacher that's going through the certification program, your first year, we paid you as a first-year teacher. They are saying that there has to be a $3,000 difference. So that's a problem for us, because we have a lot of DOI teachers right now that think they're coming back next year and they're making 60,000. We may have to drop down to 57,000 or increase our scale, but then that increases everybody else. So that's a little bit of a dilemma for us to study and get more clarification. Hopefully it's a grandfather thing, and moving forward, any new teacher coming in the system, we will have to have a scale that starts them off $3,000 less than a starting certified teacher.
And that's on page 22 in your side-by-side. It kind of gives you a definition of what a non-certified, how many years experience versus the differential pay. So it's going to be a little touch and go, so we'll really have to figure that one out. Very good stuff right there. The fun thing about the teacher retention allotment, the new one, is that as we move towards the performance-based pay, that those funds will be allowed to be intermingled with those. So that'll help us in that regard. So that's a good thing. All right. So moving on to the next one, the support staff retention allotment. This is the one that covers, I think, those people on the right, pretty much everybody except for district administrators.
Central office.
So for us, it's everyone, whoever's on the professional pay scale and the principal pay scale will not be receiving this allotment, so. And the amount of money we received, maybe 1 to 1.5% increase, so it's very limited. So. And we'll talk more about that as we kind of dive into the compensation portion. All right, some other items of information, there are spread out, of course, over this whole document. We have page 7 has the additional $1,000 for special education evaluations. So, I'm not real sure the impact of that. Then the compensatory education allotment, page 7. This one repeals the 55% direct spending requirement that we have. However, we don't really know what that means, so for us, it's business as usual until we get further clarification. Same thing with the bilingual allotment. It kind of changes a little bit how you can use those funds, but for us, we have a good system in place. We're going to continue to use that until we hear something different. So.
And those three right there, so special ed, they say on 1,000, but there is a big increase in year 2. So in the 26-27 school year, special ed funding is gonna increase pretty significantly. They did take care of special ed, but they're having to write a lot of rules and with the formulas, and so that won't really start till 26-27, so it won't impact us next year. But we will get $1,000 for the evaluations that are being performed for each kid that goes through the process. We did not receive any additional aid for comp ed, which is this comp ed, and then bilingual as well. So bilingual didn't get any more funding for the bilingual program.
All right, so those are the updates, and all right, so now we'll head into the budget to see how all this impacts us. Before we start, here's our current year-to-date budget as of yesterday afternoon when I printed it out of Frontline. And you can see that we are spending a lot of money, and we are still waiting on some money from the state. So there you go. All right. These are the budget assumptions. They're going to be the same budget assumptions that we had last presentation, the same enrollment. We're expecting the same attendance. We will change our tax rate at some point, and in most cases, will guide us through the tax rate changes and also use their expertise as we navigate the new laws that are in place. So, all right. So just for fun, I put a current law budget up there just for reference only, so you can kind of see where we would be at had the law not changed. And you can see that with the current law, with the draft budget, we're looking at adding, everybody up a pay scale within those teacher, nurse, librarian, counselors, and bus driver scale. So that would leave us with about $6.8 million in the deficit.
This is the current without SB2?
Yes.
Correct.
This is what it would.
Without any raises.
Without any raises, except for we were just gonna move people up a scale, just the base budget. So, and this is strictly for reference only because this is about to change when the governor signs the law. So, all right. And so this is what our budget would look like based on our current interpretation of the new House bill law, based on also Mo Casey's revenue runs. The state has not released a template for us to go in and put our own information in, so we have to kind of rely on Mo Casey for a little while until we can kind of get our own templates going. As you can see, the new money for Southwest ISD would be about $7.1 million, which is cool. That would have covered this, but some of those funds are flow through. So as you can see, the teacher allotment is about $3.9 million going through. That'll go to those guys directly, and then the support staff allotment, almost $550,000. So those are funds that are already spoken for. And so for us, we get about $2.1 million in additional revenue to use to cover our existing costs. So that's kind of where we're at right now with the way we're looking at the budget.
And also say this, so this says 3.9, but it's probably gonna go up because what we didn't calculate in there is these raises with the additional costs the district has to take on after the raise, because we haven't done the raise. So in the system, we're not able to calculate this yet.
What they're giving us,
Correct.
Flow through.
and those allotments is for this year and for next year.
For next year.
So the third year, if nothing is done,
It's
we
hard.
don't have to pay the allotment. maybe technically.
Correct.
Could be back to the current pay they're at now.
Correct. So our goal, correct, you're correct, because, anytime you go to 2 years, because this is by any means they come back in and there's a huge depression and there's deficit at the state level. It's happened to us where you go in there and then all of a sudden they can't fund you for that anymore. Our goal as a district, though, what we didn't bring up is, if you go look at the legislation, if you have a strategic compensation plan based on performance pay, you don't have to do this. You can take that money and fix your plan. So our goal is by the time we meet again with legislatures, we're in that strategic compensation, because I believe the state of Texas, this is the commissioner's, grand plan is to go to a performance-based system. So I believe that, because right now they're already showing you, if you're doing that strategic compensation, then you can use this new funding to help spread that out and increase your performance pay system. And you don't have to just give every person across the board the raise. So I think as we move into this new plan, we can be strategic with our future funds to do that plan and not have to worry about that. Because right now what they're saying is you're giving every teacher $5,000 whether they're performing or not.
High.
Correct. And then, but for us is as we move through this new plan, our compensation is gonna change anyways. But yes, and it's hard to take that much money back from a teacher when you pay them for 2 years. And then in 2 years, the cost of living is gonna go up. So,
What money are you saying that we're gonna get that, we can use how we want on salaries, this money?
we're, the only money we're getting that is that 1.6.
Yeah.
Go to the
Let's see, there's this one.
allotment for basic costs.
Yeah, ABC.
Right.
The other, the new teacher allotment, that's just for teachers, nobody else. And then they have the support staff.
No, I know, but my question is, you said based on performance.
Yeah.
So this money right there, the money that we have to give, 5,000 across the board,
Right.
other districts that already have a strategic compensation plan like Dallas ISD gets to use it to increase their plan.
Oh, that one.
But they don't have to give every teacher that's not performing $5,000.
But we do.
Everybody else does.
Yeah.
Everybody else is required. If you don't have a strategic compensation plan already in place, then you have to follow what is being done by the state.
So if we get a strategic plan in place next year, we still have to give the teachers that money they already got this year.
Correct. Because we don't have it in place right now, because
Right.
we're still 3 years away from that.
Oh, 3 years.
Correct. Because next year will be principals. Next year will be the capture, then principals. Next year we'll start planning for teachers, then there'll be a capture year. So we're still 3 years away from that, but the plan is to get to that.
Is TIA separate from?
Correct.
Okay.
But then once you have the strategic compensation model approved by TEA, you tell TEA, this is what we're doing, and then you're able to utilize your TIA money for that. So all the money you're bringing in with TIA, all the money that you're getting from the state, and then all the money you're not paying teachers that are not performing helps you pay those that are.
But the TIA, right now, every penny we got for TIA went to those teachers that are.
Correct. But
Every penny.
well, only 10% didn't, and that covers the cost that the district had for that.
Right, so you're saying that in the future, my concern is that the teachers who earned that much money wouldn't get that much money.
And every year.
Because we can say, no, we're gonna split it amongst other teachers, which I don't know, if I'm not interpreting that right, but that would concern me.
Not for the TIA, because when the district first started this is the way the district submitted their application, that's how much the teachers would get, and this is how much the district would hold back.
Okay.
And remember, every year, the amount of money the teacher gets could fluctuate depending on the campus and the campus
Right.
demographics. And when the choice they move if they change campuses. So
But
there's
what
a-
are you saying about being able to strategically use the money?
If we change our pay system to a performance-based pay system.
Right, and Southwest is actually one of the ones that is ahead in Bexar County, because we're already starting it for the principals, and most of them are not doing that.
Okay, so my question is, the teachers that earned the TIA this year, all of the money that the state is gonna send for that, minus 10% for, operation,
Correct,
whatever.
correct.
is gonna go to those specific teachers that earned the money.
Correct.
So my question is, in the future, is it gonna be that way? Or are we gonna get a lump sum of money and then we say, you're only gonna get, are we gonna be
Correct.
shorting the teachers that earned the money?
No, because we're gonna create a scale that's based on performance, so it'll be in line with TIA. So like the same thing that a TIA teacher is a master versus exemplary, we're gonna create that scale. So if you're exemplary, you're probably gonna get it, or maybe even more than the TIA.
Yeah, okay.
It's the whatever's left is what we're gonna use to
Whatever's
pay
left.
the rest,
Okay.
so we can add more people to it. The
Okay.
difference between TIA and strategic compensation, the biggest thing I saw is that, you're not giving raises to people that are not performing. When you have this, cause every year we're giving raises, the state's giving $5,000 and we're giving it to teachers that are not performing, then that money, we could've used that money to pay our teachers that are performing
Right.
more. And so
I see.
that's the shift.
Okay,
That's the big shift of it.
okay.
More questions?
So teachers that are not performing, let's say, are not gonna get anything, only whatever's left over that
No.
we
This is in
distribute?
the future, this isn't for
Yes,
next year.
yes.
Right now, they don't at this point unless we just give a raise like we've always been doing.
Okay.
Which
So-
we have to do right now.
Right now, the state of Texas says unless you have a strategic compensation plan that's in place, you're giving every teacher $5,000.
Starting this coming.
Starting in the default. Well, I say 5,000 if you're years 2 through 4 or 3.
through 4.
You get 2,500. If you're year 5, you get, anybody over 5,000, over 5 years
years
get
get
5,000.
Now,
what
is that
you're
an
saying-
additional for the year, the next level year they have?
So
or
we got
what?
a pay scale, I'll show it to you,
Okay.
that'll,
Yeah.
that'll help clarify. some.
We're gonna
And
say-
what you're saying is the 5,000 this year, the 5,000 next year for the 5-year teacher plus.
Correct. It's, so
And
we're
the
not.
3rd year, if stuff doesn't change, we're still gonna keep them at that rate?
I thought it was 5 years.
No. Well, right now it's TIA, but in the future it'll be, we'll do it, ours is gonna be 3 years. Grandfathered at the
No,
same
this-
rate.
No, he's talking about
No,
the
this-
5 and the 2.5.
That would be our new
that was
pay
only
scale.
Yes.
budgeted for 2
That would be
years.
our new pay
Correct.
scale.
It sounds complicated.
It's, we need a lot more time to show you and walk you through it, cause we're going
Yeah.
through the process of cleaning all that, but we will bring it to you. But in essence, yes, right now, so here's what they're doing.
So what you're saying is in the 3rd year, if they don't if they don't re-up it and we stay there, we'd be broken 2 years.
Correct. But I don't think the state of Texas is, hopefully they're not doing this to not,
They said that they would continue this until the law changed, is what I heard them talk about in
correct.
the
Okay.
Senate floor.
Yeah.
Show the pay scale,
Okay,
show the pay scale.
We all trust you.
all right.
We all trust you.
It's moving right along here, let me go, here we go. There's the new pay scale. I don't know if I can-
This would be the new
Oh,
pay
that's right.
scale.
Yeah. So it should be in your, presentation on page,
What did our teachers make the last
Well,
year?
it's there on the thing,
It's all there?
24, 25.
Oh,
Yeah.
let me look over here, please.
so on the pay scale, we have the 24-25 pay scale right here, all the way down for the years of experience. And if you go across, you can see that 0 years and 1 year experience will be no additional raise. So you have 0 years, 1, 2, get the same where they're at now. Starting year 3 for a teacher, so our new pay scale will be 64 for a 3rd year. 2,500 plus the former thing makes 64 for 4. And then the 5,000 starts at year 5. So this is our new scale. So,
Is there a difference between those two?
This is the later years.
this
Oh.
is year
So like when you
15,
start getting it, cause
34.
we go to like 34 years.
Oh, I see, sorry, Brenda, I see
Yeah.
it starts at 15 and then 30, yeah, okay.
Right.
So we're gonna cap it at 34 years, I think that's pretty nice salary right there, so we'll keep it in that spot, so. And that's how it worked for the counselor, the nurse, librarian.
What?
Well,
We'll get to that one.
the
too.
flat raise that
Yeah.
we would do if we did like a 1.5%
Oh.
of the funds that we got, which is 547,000,
So,
which we still need to calculate to make sure that's even enough to do all those other folks.
Yeah, yeah.
That are not central office admin, directors and professional staff.
Alright.
So that's about $400,
Huh?
about $400 a month.
the teachers.
Is that about a
It's a pretty
4?
significant raise.
Yeah,
It's the
that's
biggest
pretty
raise. We,
About a 5-6%?
probably more than that, sir.
Huh?
Because we did about 5 or 6% last time, like 33,000,
Yeah.
closer to 10.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice increase right there. Sorry, so. All right, so we want to keep our definitions. Right now, this is what we're using as our definitions for the different allotments. So for the support staff allotment for professionals, we have teachers who are not eligible for teacher retention allotment, who are currently on our teacher scale. We're going to move to a new scale, along with our nurses and librarians. Our counselors are on a different scale because they already had their own scale. And then our paraprofessionals as well. So that's the definition. Some of our assumptions for the compensation portion that we're talking about, the new retention allotments for the teacher retention allotment and the new support staff allotment. And then, of course, we're looking at $1,100 flat raise for the professionals that are non-teaching. And then a 1.5% increase, more or less, for the auxiliary. All right, so this is kind of what it looks like, dollar amount wise. Right now, there's no raise for the professional and principal scale. That's kind of what it would cost at the bottom right without too many taxes or anything, so that's a fun slide. All right, and this is the listing of the staff that we're looking at moving over off of the teacher pay scale.
Moving them off.
Yes.
Yes, because they're
Because
not
we're
going to
gonna
be.
create a separate
Yeah.
teacher pay scale that's got the raises on it, and then having everybody else, because they're not eligible for the raise.
Right, but these are all the people that are in the past used to getting what teachers get.
Yes,
Correct.
that's correct, so.
But are not eligible for the,
Right, I get that, I just wanna,
and that's if they say we have to have a separate scale. So this part we were trying to figure out, because if they're gonna flow this into a specific allotment where we have, it's like a stipend base, which I don't think it is. If it's a stipend base, it makes it's kinda easier, it's not really easy, but
Yeah.
it's just like, here, you get this $5,000 stipend because
Cleaner.
you're a teacher, and then we keep our current skill. And then everybody that's on it's doing it. But then again, if you wanna give a raise to the rest, we still would have to separate them, because you probably don't wanna give a raise to the teachers of 1.5%, and then the 5,000 on top, because that's gonna be outside, even more in our budget. So we have a lot to work out, that we need to get TEA to give us, like, how do y'all want us to code this? How is this supposed to go in? Is it in salary, and then it's on their scale, or is this, because they call it a retention allotment, is that separated out? So there's still a lot to unpack on that. It's probably the biggest piece to it. It's the biggest, it's $4 million, $5 million of all the money.
Where's the librarian and the counselor?
Top right, digital innovations.
Librarian.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then the counselor's there somewhere?
Counselor's gonna have their own scale.
They already had their own scale.
Okay.
But so we're not having to remove them, so we already had a counselor scale.
And social worker?
The social workers are on the counselor scales.
Okay.
So this list right here is about 10 minutes Brandon and I went through and pulled off, so it's not very exclusive, so we probably need to scrub it probably a little bit better.
can you remind me what COTA stands for?
That's,
CODA.
CODA teacher is the, Francis, the special ed.
Aubrey's not here, I figured. It's a position.
Right, but if it's a teacher, why wouldn't it be on the teacher?
Because
Does
if that person's not
doesn't
teaching
see
4 hours,
40%
yeah. So these are the ones that, there's some still that we were like, okay, I don't know for sure, but we had on the list because we need to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't want to not put them on there, and then all of a sudden we have to pull them off right now.
And we haven't done anything within our system yet, so we haven't moved anybody.
So example, special program, the building test facilitator, really, when I do staffing, I give the high schools an extra teacher. But if they're not using that teacher to teach, then they're not gonna get this study.
Right.
And so they have to make a decision and tell that teacher, hey, you're over here helping us with testing all year, but you're not
Yeah.
gonna be eligible for the raise or TIA, so, there's some tougher decisions that they make.
And I can understand the librarian, that so many of them do see kids. I mean, some of them are gonna feel like I should be getting that.
Correct.
Yeah, but they don't have any accountability for growth or scores or, right? Is that,
That's the tough thing, because we haven't really given us a lot of clarification. All we have is that little blip that's in the, what Casey thinks of. And we have like 2 months to get it ready. So that's our list right there, subject to change. All right, so our starting pay that we're kind of thinking about presenting to you all will be right here. So starting pay for an uncertified teacher. So as Brandon mentioned earlier, an uncertified teacher with 0 years experience needs to make $3,000 less than a certified teacher with 0 years experience. And so for us, an uncertified teacher with 0 years experience is a $60,000 starting salary. So uncertified, $57,000. And we'll need to look at that definition a little more in depth. And I'm not sure if we've hired anybody at those job fairs that are coming in expecting to make 60 that may now be making 57.
And we do have some DOA teachers that are, especially like CTE, that are, because of our DOA plan, we're able to hire because, you know, there's not a lot of teachers out there that are just welders. I mean, the welders, you have to, some of these industry-based, we're hoping for clarification that those are exempt because many of those aren't certified. But it's more of the ones that are in the core that are not certified. I think that's the target of this.
Yeah.
And it's also in the plan. There's another bill that by 2029, that we don't have any non-certified teachers teaching any of the core classes. We saw that too.
So is that something where you would look at, like you said earlier, some kind of a stipend that said, or some kind of, maybe an incentive that said if you get all of your certification and blah, blah, blah,
Actually-
then you would get, oh, that's in there?
It's in
There is
somewhere.
that, but it's also like, well, right now you're making 57, and if I'm a teacher, I'm making the same as a certified, and if I finish, I'm gonna get a $3,000 raise, because right now.
No, the new ones, the ones that we,
Yeah, I think there's a.
oh, I see what you're saying.
See what I'm saying? So like, right now, it's to keep your job, but right now, it would also increase your pay if you actually could get certified as well. Right now, it's like, you're getting paid as a certified teacher even though you're not certified. So it's like, it's kind of both, to entice them to get their certification and continue their program. You're gonna get certified and continue to keep your job, but at the same time, you will see an increase, because right now, they just get whatever increase we're giving them. There's no delineation between the two.
So if we have an uncertified teacher that is really successful in their class and they have the growth, they're not eligible for TIA
I don't believe so.
because they're not certified?
I
Okay.
don't believe so. I don't think so. I would have to double check, but I think that's also maybe in the TIA rules.
I'm not sure, so we'll have to double check that.
There's a lot of uncertainty. Things we're working on. And on the
Is
right.
57 what the DOI teacher makes right now this year?
No, right now they're making 60. So if you start with us, you get paid off the teacher skill at 60,000.
So is this Plan A to grandfather them, or does this
We need
reduce them?
rules. We're hoping that we could grandfather the ones that already work for us, because I don't know what the rules are saying completely. It doesn't say, well, if you already have them, they can stay. So.
I think the issue that we're gonna have is, most of the time, if you have a DOI teacher, the first year they're in, we put them on a permit, which is like an emergency permit, and people are on those. And so they are SBEC certified through an emergency permit for their first year. Through our DOI, we have allowed them to extend for 2 additional years, even if they haven't completed, as long as they've, made progress to getting their certification in their core subject area of that choice. The issue would be that the permit then will expire, and then they're no longer SBEC certified. So we will have to put a rule in place for somebody who is not fully certified prior to, because they will say, well, I have an emergency permit, so then I should qualify for the full amount. But that's, if this is what they're gonna put in legislation, it's going to say, no, this supersedes that. So we'll have to look at how they're gonna apply that law.
So, page 22 on your document. The wording for the uncertified teacher is, the bill would require school districts to pay a certified classroom teacher with 0 years of experience more than a non-certified classroom teacher with 0 years of experience,
Okay.
such that the difference is 3,000. So I think if we go with 57,000 for, I think we're good. I think anyone who's already there is probably okay to stay with their current salary. That's kind of how I read this, but yeah, this is like, we've only been to 2 webinars. Whew, it's gonna be tough. So, but the good news is we have a plan for the future. You know, right now, we're not looking to provide any raises for the professional staff or the principals, but the principals will be eligible for performance-based pay. This coming up year, we're gonna be doing establishing the baseline and then roll it out the following year after that. And the same with the That's what Dallas calls theirs, the Teacher Excellence Initiative, so I guess that's what we'll call it too for now. It's also performance-based pay for teachers and assistant principals, so we'll be able to roll those out in the upcoming years using the funds from the new teacher incentive allotment and the TIA funding, so. Future looks good. It's not all bad news, so, all right. We looked at that pay scale already. This scale right here would be the, $1,100 is about a 1.5% increase on midpoint, from our current teacher,
This would be the support salaries for all those non-teachers.
nurse, librarian.
But that allotment, doesn't that include expenses like that, so?
Yeah, so even with.
We'd just be using it all for one thing.
If we do all the non-support at a 1.5%, that's what they gave us wasn't enough.
Right.
So if
we're
we just
not-
do 1.5, it's gonna probably be 600, 700,000,
Yeah.
probably 800,000 to cover the rest of the folks that are the support staff for us. If we just wanna use the 500 they gave us, then it'd probably be like a 1% increase, but,
Yeah.
which, and on the other side, that we have the increase to insurance, which probably won't be much for them, but. We're gonna bring different scenarios. This is a starting point to kind of get, and as we get more information to give y'all, the biggest piece to this whole thing is,
Bless you.
God bless you, as we continue to work through our deficit with the mindset that in 2026, 2027, we're opening a whole new school, which will be of the tune of about $7 to $8 million added to the budget, because that we have to prepare for. So not only are we working on getting to a balanced budget, we need to prepare for, because the decisions we make today and moving forward will impact us in the next year in 2 years with a new school. So we're gonna be running scenarios, we're gonna be giving you some calculations, we'll be looking at, okay, what is it gonna cost to open Alvarado? How do we prepare, what things should we do differently to continue to mitigate our budget? I don't wanna call it crisis, because I think we're in a lot better shape than we were. But you can kind of see the idea here is the funding that we are receiving, there's very limited on to help us get through the deficit that we continue to work on together to minimize it, so.
Is this pretty much what it looks like across the city?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're.
No, it looks worse.
Oh, yeah, it does, I mean, I said, well.
Another district?
Correct, it looks worse.
Yeah.
I think it's what I meant by that is it's the same,
Yeah, the same issue.
same issue, same mindset. It's like, we wanted the money, so yes, we wanna give it to our employees, we wanna give, and we also have lots of other employees to give money to that we think are very valuable. We know the teacher is the most important person in the classroom in front of the students, we get that. We wanna support them, but then we have a lot of other folks that play a role there too. But we also have to deal with their own operational, fiscal responsibility that it doesn't really allow us to do that. So what we've done in the past, all the other things we've done so far has been really good to help us get to narrow the gap of the
Because
the deficit.
this gives this plan right now, I mean, I know it's not really a plan, it's just information, gives no raises for the transportation, the cafeteria, the custodians, the maintenance crews, all those people that make very little already.
There's the counselor's possible scale.
Yeah.
We got the bus driver
Quick.
possible scale.
Any more questions for us? And like I said, we'll be back here in the June board meeting presenting even more updates as we work these out. We were hoping to get, and it's basically gonna be clarification, because we would like to get a compensation plan to you as soon as possible. It's just getting the information and how they unpack this. I don't even know if it's been signed into law yet.
Not yet, not yet.
So we're still waiting for that, because they can't do anything at a TEA without it actually being a law. And then hopefully they'll start pushing out a lot of because what they did last time in House Bill 3 is they started sending videos, they started having conference calls, even the commissioner was getting on calls with superintendents, and so they started to lay out a lot of these different things that are important. And this package, we only covered like 4 or 5 things. There's a whole bunch of other things that are in this that deal with finances and different things that we have to put into place.
Then there's the overhead cost of receiving and paying out that
Correct.
allotment
Correct.
that they're not covering.
Correct.
And that's just House Bill 2.
Yes. There's some other things that are gonna impact us. We'll probably bring to y'all in the June board meeting about some of the other laws they're putting into place.
Tax rates.
Because it's gonna impact our tax rate. They're raising the homestead more than likely. So as we saw an increase on our foundation program, we're actually seeing that we're gonna be collecting less taxes. And we're trying to see how did they work that, cause it doesn't look like the calculation helps. Cause normally when they reduce taxes, we get a bigger increase, but it doesn't seem like that's the mechanism that's happening with the bill. So
Taking money away
there's
from
even
the
more
families.
to it.
Yeah.
But there is an increase, we got money, we can be able to pay some folks, and some programs are gonna get some relief. But it is what it is now.
Can I ask a question about summer school
Okay,
or fine arts thing?
okay.
Are we doing, I know we had talked about it, I don't know that we had ever finalized it, but on the transportation, are we doing hubs?
I would have to get that information for you. I'm assuming we were,
Okay.
or actually, we might have routed most of the kids.
I'm just curious because, my niece is attending McCulloch for mariachi camp.
Uh-huh.
And it says, pick up and drop off at Southwest High School. But then the link that you press to see what time pickup is, there's nothing there.
Okay,
So I don't,
I'll-
I don't know
I'll
if
find out
other
for you.
parents are having the same
okay.
issue.
I think it's all we have, sir.
Okay, no, we're good.
All right.
Do we have closed session?
Oh, we do have closed session, okay.
Okay. As permitted by sections 551.001 through 551.146 of the Texas Government Code, we will now go into closed session at 12:12. Call this meeting back in order at 12:28. Go straight to item 6, superintendent's recommendations on personnel, administrator employment, resignations, reassignments, leaves of absences, contract renewals.
I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation on personnel.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion, all opposed? Motion passes. Anything else?
Yes, I don't think she's listening, but I would like to congratulate Melanie Henson. Sunday night, she was awarded, AD of the Year.
Wow.
So congratulations to Melanie.
Okay. Meeting is now closed at 12:28. Let's go for a walk.